Hi, my name is Rachel Jesson. I'm a health food specialist and educator at the Nutritional Institute. Today we're going to explore the controversial topic of gluten-free. Studies show that 1 in 200 people have varying degrees of gluten intolerance. Why is this? I largely believe that it's the modification of the wheat grain itself. Wheat now has been modified to withstand droughts, pesticides, various insects, as well as the processing of the grain has been modified to make it more fluffy and light. And we're consuming more wheat now than we have ever consumed ever before. I also believe that we have damaged gut flora. This is because of the high use of antibiotics in our daily living, which has actually created a dysbiosis in the gut. Because we live in a very clean environment and a very sterile environment, scientists are now saying that we have a lower amount of antibodies to fend off infections and bugs. And finally, a diet high in processed foods, dead, lifeless foods. We're starving on a cellular level, which means that the nutrients in our body are a lot lower than they should be, which is not helping our immune systems to thrive. So what is gluten? Gluten is a sticky protein found in a grain of wheat, rye, spelt, and barley. Gluten contains 2 main proteins. The offending protein is called gliadin, and what many of us suffer from is some intestinal disturbances from this particular protein. The types of grains that contain gluten would be all wheat and wheat derivatives. Grains like semolina, rye, barley, all the malt forms, so malt extract, malt flavoring, malt syrups. The types of common foods that you find gluten in would be all your pastas and your noodles, it would be all baked goods and pastries, crackers, cereal and granola, brewer's yeast, even beer contains wheat products. It's mostly available in a processed form. The most common signs of a gluten intolerance is IBS, which is irritable bowel syndrome. It is constipation, diarrhea, smelly poo, it's abdominal cramps, it's skin rashes, headaches, anxiety and depression. The list is endless, but there are a number of complications that can happen with gluten. And a great way to know that you have a gluten intolerance is to do some sort of self-test. So what you could do is you could eliminate 100% of gluten from your diet for at least 30 days or more. See how you feel. Make a mental note. Do you feel better than you normally would when you do consume the gluten? And then when you reintroduce the gluten, do you start feeling awful again? And that's when you know you have an issue with gluten. If you've done a self-diagnosis that you have an issue with gluten, or you've formally been told that you have an issue with gluten, there are a number of gluten-free options that you can consume. We've got wonderful grains now. You're looking at amaranth, millet, buckwheat, quinoa. These can all be ground into flours and used for baking. We've got all the nuts here, which can be ground. These are ground macadamia nuts. You can ground hazelnuts, pecan, any nut that you want. You can do exactly the same with the seeds. Then we've got the coconut, we've got hemp, we've got the very common chickpea flour, the brown rice and white rice flours. There's cassava flour now. We have some lovely pastas available now. I mean, this one here has some wakimi in it, which is a type of seaweed, elevating the nutritional density of the product. If you really do have to include a bread into your diet, let's go with some of the best choices. We have here, which is a gluten-free regular brown rice bread. It's an incredibly light bread. It's not filling. You need at least 7 slices to feel full. Another type of gluten-free bread I found is this one here. This bread incorporates more whole foods. Its prime ingredient is buckwheat, which is a lot lower in the glycemic index, plus it's made with sweet baked potato. We can go even further with this, and we can use a nut flour-based bread. So here I've made a broccoli and baby marrow bread, or you should maybe call it a loaf because it doesn't include a grain, and it's made with almond nut flour. So if you are on a gluten-free diet, there are a number of choices of treats that you can go for. Today we have some of our ginger biscuits, and we've got some chocolate macaroons. These rusks are made from an almond nut flour, so they really are wonderful treats. But here's the problem. Just because the label on the outside says gluten-free, it doesn't mean it's free of sugar. It doesn't mean it's free of E. codes, stabilizers, emulsifiers, preservatives, etc. You really do need to be careful. So there are reasons why gluten-free can actually be unhealthy. You want a clean flour. You want everything to have as little amount of human intervention and E. codes as possible. So if you do want to be healthy and vibrant, and you've been told that you need to follow a gluten-free regime, know that it's not the end of the line. There's a host of alternatives that you can follow, a load of shopping you can do where you can find really good clean products, but you need to be fastidious in reading those labels. Why not experiment in your own kitchen and create something delicious there? That's got a whole lot more fun and more excitement to it. That's it from me, Rachel Jesson. Until next time.